Hi, my name is Beth Hiley, here for Board Game Geek TV at Gen Con 2013. I'm sitting down with two fine guys from Queen's Games, Keith Bloom and Patrick Waylands. Thank you guys both for stopping by. I know, that's just my accent.
Oh, I got it. That really was your accent.
It really was, yeah, that was
you
for
were
real.
faking that.
No,
Nice.
that's just my Chicago creeping in.
Love it.
But I'm gonna put this in front of my face for a moment. What, again?
It's upside down.
Oh, that should stay.
That should stay.
That's exactly.
That's not my first time. Actually, I have a reputation back in Chicago for being the upside down box presenter. You guys will never forget this box now of Lost Legends.
Digging that.
Having seen it from both angles now. So
there's so many places to take that.
I know, there you go. So Keith and Patrick, why don't you just kind of give us a 10-minute overview of what to expect when you play Lost Legends?
You take the role of a hero. Each hero has different ability levels. So the one that you're seeing in front of you is actually a sorceress. So if you look at the different
Here, we'll put that
tracks,
right up in the middle.
Nice, love it. So in this case, she has an ability level on the blue track, which represents the mana. If you were to choose the warrior, for example, you see that he doesn't have any magic inherent abilities, but his health starts out at a higher level than the sorceress. So it fits what I would consider to be the archetypes of this type of fantasy genre. The overview of the game, it has an initial drafting mechanic that you use to equip your characters. And so not just adding armor or artifacts or spells, but also you can add skills. So if you look at, we'll put another example back up again, we'll take this one. In the case of the warrior, you look at these two icons here, he has a defense ability and a combat ability. This is an example of a bow. He would not be able to equip it at the start. You equip your pieces here.
Hence the little notch built into that side of the board.
In his case, what he would have to do is actually acquire the skill. So to acquire the skill, you actually rotate the card and slot it up here. And so then that icon reflects the fact that you now have that ability.
Without losing your original two abilities.
Correct.
So in looking through these, spell casting and defensizing. There is our natural bow user.
Right, yep, the thief.
All right, and then a bow user and a weapons.
Yes.
Spellcaster, there we go.
And what this will do is it won't necessarily preclude you from using a different type of weapon, but what it does is it takes away any additional abilities. So if you look at this weapon here, it automatically allows you to do one type of range damage with your bow and arrow. But if you have this symbol up here, the bow and arrow up there, you get to do additional damage.
So you could sort of double out this one, just have a double bow.
It's increasing your skill level.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you only have room for one third edition there. If you wanted to switch it, you would lose that other third one, or they continue to stack upwards?
They continue to stack up as many as you want. What you're trying to balance between, though, is taking these additional skills, or do you want to actually buy the weapons or buy the armor? You only have a certain number of cards you can draft from, so you'll want to either take the skill or the item, depending on what you want.
Yeah, all the skill in the world doesn't matter if you don't have the weapon to hit the monster. A little bit of a problem.
One other thing that these help you with as well, you'll notice up here you have a certain cost for the card. So there's the cost for this card is going to be 1 if you buy a short bow. But if you already have the bow up here, you'll get this for 1 less. You can see that there's
free.
So in this case you'd be able to buy it for free. So the other advantage of gaining these skills is you're able to buy these items at a cheaper cost.
Makes sense. You kind of know what you're talking about when you go to buy it.
Exactly.
That didn't work when I bought a car. So that's the equipping. I mean, do you feel like we can show you some examples of some of the others. This is a weapon. You also have, I mentioned very briefly, you've got the icons that tell you what's there. So this is an example of a wand. You may see piece of equipment, a magic robe.
Yep.
Actually, equipment. This is armor.
And the armor, there's also 3 different types as well. You have the body armor, like this leather armor. You might have a shield, and you might have a helmet. So you have 3 different types of those as well.
that's the robe I'm looking at. Ah, here we go. Here's the helmet. And the way, when you're equipping armor, you cannot have two pieces of body armor, right? The
Makes
maximum
sense.
you could have in that category is 3, but it would be one
One of
helmet,
each.
one armor, one shield. Right? I'm remembering that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
He's my backup after the fleet debacle in Essen that I haven't lived down yet. I'm still apologizing for the design to the designers, not for the design. So then we also have the spells. Here's an example: lightning bolts, arcane energy, and then you also have artifacts that contribute different skills as well.
I'm amused that you have to acquire the skill to wear jewelry. It's your accessories
Boy, was
ability.
there! Oh man, I was about ready to get myself in more trouble. But
Well,
I'm
certain
gonna see if I
characters
can-
might not look as well in
Fair
jewelry
enough,
as others.
yeah.
So.
I've got my jewelry on. I apparently have that skill, so I'm who knew? I got that. I don't have to acquire that. And then, so that's equipping yourself. That's done through a drafting mechanic, if we didn't say that. So you deal out 5 cards to each player, and then you draw and pass. And so you're going to see different things come
Yeah.
through.
So you draw your card, you either buy it or you play it as a skill.
Okay.
So once you do that, once you're all equipped up, which is kind of a fun thing in its own right, then it's time for the bad
Fight
guys to
stuff.
be introduced. That's right. And so we'll have a couple different examples here. I really like the artwork on this game. I think they did their choice of artist was outstanding. Not sure if those are getting too far out, but we've got a couple here. So as we turn them over, they appear in front of the characters, right? You have one that'll
In
give his
fact-
attention to you.
So in fact, at the beginning of the game, before you equip, you know what monsters you're going to go fight because you're preparing to fight these monsters, but more will come out later. So these monsters will be placed out in front of you at the beginning of the game, and then you'll have another monster in waiting in the center of the deck as well.
Okay.
So you can help prepare appropriately what you think
exactly.
you might need to be strong in. So what does fighting actually look like?
Apparently I have a mark from that. So on your turn, you'll have, I guess we could kind of go back through and do our equipment. Actually, you know what? We can talk through this. So what you're going to see is different ability levels on each card. They tell you what kind of damage they do, what kind of life they have, what trophies or gold they generate, and how they respond to damage. So in the case of the Reaper demons, when they receive damage from either melee combat, which is the sword, the long-range combat, which is the bow, or the the magic combat, they only take half damage. So those icons in the upper left are telling you what they do, their resistances, or in the case of the Orcish Brute, he's actually susceptible to magic damage, right? This in the lower right gives you their health, and that tells you what kind of attack they do. This is telling you, that's what I'm going to space it. This is the gold you get, and that's the experience.
Correct. Yep.
Sweet.
So after after you defeat a monster, you're going to gain a certain number of gold. But it works a little differently than it does in some other games.
I like
so
that.
instead of gaining all the gold yourself, you're sharing it with your fellow adventurers. You have to, depending on where you're sitting, you're going to,
Let's say I defeated him, then you can go from there.
if you defeated it, you gain 2 gold. So you gain the first gold, the next one goes to the player on the left.
Woo!
Player on the right is out of luck. But let's say you defeated the Orcish Brute right there. It would go one to you, 1 to the left, 1 to the right. If there were 4 gold, it would go 1 to him, 1 to you,
And loop
1 to
back.
me, and then 1 back to him. So if there's more than 3 players, the other players are then out of luck.
Yeah, you're adjacent part. I almost feel like they're somehow involved in the combat a little bit thematically. You don't do anything typically, but you've got
Moral
cards.
support.
I
Moral
didn't show that, but you've got a situation. Some of this equipment, like this is a glove that allows you to use a skill from the player on your right during gear up. So, for example, if you showed the example where having the bow skill reduced the cost of the bow. So that's a case where if you had this, you could then take advantage of that skill during a purchase. During gear up is the term we're talking about. I think it's a logical term when you're getting the equipment attached.
All right, so what's our end goal to win?
Well, you gain points obviously through defeating your monsters, and the main way that you're going to gain points is through gaining trophies. Here are a couple of different trophies that we have here. We'll put these out here in the center. We first have our challenge trophy, which are only worth 1 point apiece. So each time you defeat a monster of that type, if you have equal to the most of that type of monster, here we have our undead with our little skull there. If you win that, you take the trophy, and you automatically take 1 point when you take the trophy. So here's our little point chit here. So you'll take the trophy and that. Other ways to gain points is to gain other types of trophies. Here we have our 2 beasts here. So there will be a pile of these with the highest number on top and increasingly lower numbers below. You take the top one from this pile once you get gain the requirements to get that tile. So in this case, you need 2 beasts. So if you're the first one to defeat 2 beasts, you take the top one from the stack, and you gain the points for that. The next player will get the next one down.
What we didn't show is when you defeat one of the monsters, they rotate and appear here. So you've got
so
the
you have
icon
the list
that's showing you. So when he's saying defeating 2 beasts, I don't think I have one out, but it's this icon here.
So, for example, in this
that we're
case,
talking about.
our plague rat. If you have 2 plague rats right here,
There we go.
you
Okay.
gain 2 of the beasts. And you also gain points throughout the game by gaining experience. So let's put the board back out here. As you gain experience, you'll be able to gain points, victory points through the end of the game. So if you make it to 16 in experience, you gain victory points, 10, 13, 16, and 20 if you make it all the way up to 30.
I'm guessing these are little upgrade spots, perhaps?
Exactly, and as you go throughout the game, you can upgrade your character. Each of these spaces that has the 3 symbols for gold, mana, or health, you can move your health or mana up 1, not only for the amount using your tracker, these cubes right here, or you can move up the maximum amount as well. So you move up 1 of each. So instead of having just 2 health, you'd move this up 1 as well as your health marker up 1.
Excellent.
You can also choose to take 2 gold instead if you need to buy more weapons or more spells.
And then you guys said this is for up to 4 players, 2 to 4?
Up to 3 to 5 players.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
How long would you say a typical game takes?
A typical game will probably take about 75 minutes. Once you know the game a little bit better, or if you're playing with fewer people, it'll probably go a little faster than that.
Yeah, there are 3 rounds. So you gear up with the monster in front of you that you know you're going to fight. You go through that deck, and then once the monster deck is exhausted,
Yep,
you
once
move
the
on.
monster deck is exhausted.
And
then
I'm guessing they get progressively
Yeah,
harder.
they do,
Yeah.
and so you're bumping up to neater equipment, more difficult. I mean,
Right.
some of the later monsters actually wind up influencing other combat. So if you do something and maybe don't defeat that monster, it starts like adding health to other monster. It can get kind of nasty.
And we can show that real quick right here at the very bottom. There will be some abilities. When a monster first appears in front of you, they might inflict some damage, like in this case. If you draw in from the top of the deck, you could get 1 damage. Or if you draw it to the center of the deck, it might be the player with the most trophies of that type of monster. So other abilities can come up where they heal the monsters or they attack everyone as well.
Exciting. All right, well, thank you both, Keith and Patrick, for stopping by. And
I have a
let me
feeling
grab.
I'll see you again.
I
sometime.
know, for bringing us Lost Legends.
Thank you.
Thank you.